How does Brad Stevens, one of the smartest GMs in the NBA, make a trade so atrocious that he's compared to Nico Harrison?
This is one of the worst trades that I can think of. This is Luka Doncic-esque, where we're talking about. Nico Harrison is somewhere popping a bottle because he is not the person that is responsible for the worst trade. He's right there with this Jaylen Brown trade.
Brad Stevens has completely took a hit on his legacy.
Why would he trade away a healthy Finals MVP in the middle of his prime, just 2 years after winning a championship, and for almost nothing in return? But to make things even more confusing, out of all the teams, why would Boston send him to Philadelphia? They're rivals, especially right after the Celtics had blown a humiliating 3-1 lead to the Sixers. This trade also directly led to the Sixers signing LeBron James and assembling a super team in the East. The fact that Boston was so willing to move him for so little and to their biggest rival tells you that there is something much deeper going on behind the scenes.
Boston, they packed me up. I wasn't thrilled with the amount of respect that was showed during this process. I thought I earned respect enough to get that explanation, but hey, obviously I was wrong. I wasn't thrilled the way he facilitated some of the conversations, but I definitely think there's more to it.
To understand just how absurd this trade really was, we first have to understand why these two franchises couldn't stand each other. The rivalry between the Celtics and the Sixers is almost as old as the league itself, tracing back all the way to 1953. But it reached its peak in the 1960s, fueled by the legendary individual duel between Boston's defensive anchor, Bill Russell, and Philadelphia's offensive juggernaut, Wilt Chamberlain. Their dominance defined the Eastern Conference rivalry of the 60s, with the two teams facing off 7 times in the Eastern Conference Finals. But almost every time the Celtics and Sixers clashed in the conference finals, it was Boston that came out on top. But the rivalry didn't end there. The Celtics and Sixers carried that history straight into the 1980s, led by Larry Bird and Julius Erving. This era was defined by bruising physicality and trash talk. The two teams met 4 times in the conference finals within just 6 years in the 80s, and the rivalry turned genuinely bitter, with both sides developing real hatred for one another. Nothing captures the unfiltered animosity of this rivalry quite like this November 1984 game, when Bird and Erving ended up choking each other on the court, a moment immortalized in this iconic photo.
And Larry gets a little angry, and here's Moses. Wait a minute.
That's Barkley.
Oh, there is
yeah. And look at
Jay hitting Bird as he's being held from behind by Barkley and Moses Malone.
But the fiercest showdown came in the 1981 Eastern Conference Finals, where the Boston Celtics and the Philadelphia 76ers faced each other as equals, finishing the season with identical 62-win records. The Sixers were led by Julius Erving, who was the league MVP that year, while Boston was led by a second-year Larry Bird. This was as even as a series could get, although Boston's home court advantage made them the slight favorites. Coming off an NBA Finals appearance the year before, the Sixers took control early on and built a commanding 3-1 series lead. At the time, only 4.5% of teams that were down 3-1 in the playoffs made a comeback. But Larry Bird couldn't care less. He went on to hit one clutch shot after another, and Boston pulled off a miraculous comeback, winning the final 3 games to close out the series. But this wouldn't be the last time Boston found themselves down 3-1. 13 years before, on April 14, 1968, the Philadelphia 76ers were holding a commanding 3-1 series lead, led by league MVP Wilt Chamberlain. Boston, meanwhile, was led by a 34-year-old Bill Russell. This was the 7th time these two had met, and Wilt had lost to Boston in 5 of the previous 6 times. But the last time, in 1967, he'd finally beaten them, winning his first NBA championship in the process. Now, the defending champions were 1 win away from the finals. And back in 1968, no team in NBA history had ever come back from being down 3-1. Facing elimination, Russell rallied the Celtics to win 3 straight games. including a legendary defensive masterclass where he held Wilt Chamberlain to 0 field goal attempts in the second half of a deciding Game 7. 58 years later, on April 27, 2026, the roles were reversed, and it was the Celtics who were up 3-1 against the Sixers, this time in the first round of the playoffs. Boston demolished Philadelphia by 32 points in Game 4, and the series looked over. The media had written the Sixers off completely. But instead of folding, Philadelphia played a desperate and physical brand of basketball. Led by Tyrese Maxey and Joel Embiid, the 76ers pulled off a historic 3-1 comeback against their rivals. For Boston, it was completely humiliating. This was the first time they had ever lost a 3-1 lead, snapping a perfect 32-0 record that had stood for decades. Less than 24 hours after Game 7 had ended, Jaylen Brown went live on Twitch and said this.
I'm so proud of this group and the way we played. I wish we trusted that style of play a little bit more, but I know playoffs kind of shifted our rotations. But I'm so proud, and it was my favorite year of my basketball career.
By almost every metric, it truly was the best season of his career. For years, he'd been viewed as a second option behind Jason Tatum, even after winning both the Finals MVP and Conference Finals MVP back in 2024. So when Tatum got sidelined with an injury, Brown finally got a chance to be the guy, and it was clear that he loved every second of it. But to the media and the fans, his comments came across as tone-deaf and selfish.
Bro, you just gave up a 3-1 lead in the playoffs, and you're on Twitch? Your fans are more upset than you? You're on stream, calm, cool, and collected, saying this is your favorite season? You gave up a 3-1 lead in the playoffs?
Now you say this is my favorite year. That can, point, right? Because we won a championship.
And you won a Finals MVP with the counter.
So it's like, but no, man, this is my favorite year.
Damn.
Jaylen Brown's too smart to do that.
I think there was a lack of awareness for Jaylen Brown as a leader, and I still think there's a ton of room for growth for him in that category.
Maybe you are enjoying the year where you're the number one option. You don't let that be known, because that seems very selfish of you. So, yeah, he ruined that.
He's won a championship. He's been a Finals MVP. Yeah. He's gotten the huge contract. And him making the point to do that Twitch stream after blowing a 3-1 lead and making the point of announcing this is was my favorite year. I think Jaylen Brown wants his own team.
The timing of that statement was terrible. But that doesn't mean Brown was entirely in the wrong. From the moment he was drafted, he was never fully embraced by Boston.
With the 3rd pick in the 2016 NBA Draft, the Boston Celtics select Jaylen Brown.
To start off, I was booed when I was drafted.
This guy is our guy, and he's our guy for the future. So we're pleased to make the pick, and we're very glad that Jaylen Brown is a Celtic.
That was my introduction to the city. And I was the top pick. I didn't have an agent as well, so I had nobody advocating for me as a young player.
He spent his whole career feeling like he had something to prove, even to his own team. Yet through all of it, Brown never doubted his ability to be the franchise's cornerstone, the guy capable of leading this team.
Yeah, right now I got like an adrenaline rush. Like I'm watching Steph Curry warm up, I'm watching Andre Iguodala warm up. Right now I feel kind of excited and ready to go. I can't wait to see the finals. One day I want to be in the same situation as these guys. I want to get here so bad. I will be here.
Brown had a solid rookie season, but the very next year, Boston drafted Jason Tatum. Almost overnight, the organization and the fans anointed Tatum as their franchise cornerstone, while Brown was left with a label of being the second option.
Like, the pressure is crazy. Like, if I make one mistake, if I have one bad game, it's like, he should have never been an MVP, he should have never been an all-star, he should have never been this, should have never been that. Get him out of here, trade him.
Brown didn't complain. He put his head down and got to work. That chip on his shoulder never really left him. And if anything, it's what pushed him to work as hard as he did. Together, the Jays became the NBA's most consistent duo, reaching the playoffs for 9 straight years. And in those 9 years, they went to the conference finals 5 times, And in 2024, they were crowned as the NBA champions. For most of that run, Tatum was viewed as the unquestioned number one. But when Boston finally won the championship in 2024, it was Brown who ended up winning both the Finals MVP and the Conference Finals MVP.
What does holding this trophy mean to you?
It was a full team effort, and I shared this with my brothers and my partner in crime, Jason Tatum. He was with me the whole way, so we shared this shit together.
How important is winning Finals MVP to you?
It's important, but it's not like the main thing. Isaiah Thomas didn't win Finals MVP every time. Tim Duncan didn't win Finals MVP every time. Larry Bird, Steph Curry only has one. Kobe won 2 out of 5 championships. But I would not the slightest bit be sad, that I didn't win Finals MVP. I would be ecstatic just to win the Finals.
The two of them handled it with class that June, but the award fundamentally changed everything. In hindsight, it may have been the first crack in what would eventually split them apart. But before we get into it, a quick word from today's sponsor, Toggle VPN. A few months back, I wanted to watch the NBA Finals when I was on vacation. But because I was in a different country, the stream wasn't loading. Luckily, my problem was solved by Toggle VPN. It's a VPN app that lets you switch server locations with a single tap, so that you can access the content you are already paying for wherever you happen to be in the world. It's super helpful for fast, stable streaming on any live media, so that you're not stuck sitting there staring at a loading screen in the middle of a crucial fourth quarter comeback. On top of that, Toggle VPN comes with a built-in ad blocker, adding an extra layer of privacy whenever you are connected to any public Wi-Fi. Also, my favorite part is that a single Toggle VPN account works across 10 different devices. Right now, you can try Toggle VPN completely free for 7 days and get 20% off your first month. The link for this exclusive deal is in the description below. A big thank you to the team at Toggle VPN for sponsoring this video. For the next 2 years, the media ran with it, using that Finals MVP to argue Brown wasn't just Tatum's equal, he might actually be better. For Brown, this was validation, proof of something he believed about himself since the day he was drafted. During the 2025 playoffs, Tatum went down with an Achilles injury. Just like that, Brown finally had the chance he'd been waiting for, to be the undisputed number one in Boston. He ran with it, playing at a near MVP level, and proving his point to anyone still doubting him. The tension between Boston's two stars wasn't the only issue. The organization itself had become tired of Brown's outspoken personality. Even after finishing 6th in MVP voting, his value as the franchise cornerstone didn't seem to exist.
6 conference finals, Eastern Conference Finals MVP, NBA Finals MVP, and he's being dangled for a trade for Giannis Antetokounmpo.
If Jalen walked into a place where everybody's walking through the red door, but he thinks the blue door is the way to go, he's gonna walk through the blue door. And I think a lot of people don't like that. When he first came into the NBA, I had a story about how people thought he was too smart, like he had other interests. Who gets chastised for that?
Jaylen Brown, I had 2 NBA sources tonight, 2 people in the league, one an executive, one a scout, say that Jaylen Brown it's a disease. He suddenly thinks he's the smartest guy in every room he's in. I've worked with people in the media. It's really, you get into a really bad space. You make a lot of money. Suddenly you're absolutely sure. You don't want to listen to your bosses. You don't want to listen to consultants. You don't want to listen to teammates. And live streaming and throwing it out there. And that's just not a good space. It used to be nothing good happens after 3 in the morning. Nothing good happens when pro athletes live stream. It's just trouble. Stay away from it.
The Celtics did not feel that Jalen had the best season on their team. And I don't mean Jason Tatum. I'm talking about they felt that Derek White had a better season.
Over the years, Brown's name kept surfacing in all sorts of trade talks, while Tatum was treated as the one player Boston would never move. No matter what Brown did, it was becoming clear that the Celtics would never value him over Tatum, and that he'd spend his career living in Tatum's shadow. But there's also a basketball reason behind it. On the surface, it looked like Brown carried the Celtics to 56 wins even with Tatum out. But a lot of analytics showed that his actual impact wasn't nearly as strong as his counting stats suggested. Like, for instance, take a look at his on-off numbers. Boston consistently performed better with Brown off the floor, and this was the case for 3 straight seasons. While it might sound like an exaggeration, multiple reports suggest that front offices around the league were genuinely questioning how valuable Brown actually was. Part of the explanation comes down to what kind of scorer he is. Brown is a good volume scorer, but he isn't an offensive engine. He can get to his own spots as well as almost anyone, but he doesn't consistently make the players around him better. This is in large part because he doesn't draw enough attention from opposing defenses to create easy looks for his teammates. Boston's offense is built around a system known as Mazzulla ball, named after their head coach, Joe Mazzulla. The philosophy is simple: create mismatches to find the open man and fire threes at a high clip. Tatum fits this system perfectly. He's a strong three-point shooter who's comfortable moving without the ball in his hands. But Jaylen Brown is the exact opposite. Since he's not a great shooter from deep, he struggles to impact the game, unless the ball is actually in his hands. But defenses don't respect his jumper. They often stay locked onto their assignment, instead of sending a double team in his way. This eventually means Brown is forced into playing in isolation, which is the exact opposite of what Mazzulla ball is designed to do. There's also the athletic decline to consider. Earlier in his career, he was a high flyer who could blow past the best defenders to get to the paint. But as the workload on his body has piled up over the years, he has found it harder to consistently get into good spots in the paint using his athleticism. Even when he wants to attack the basket, he often can't get there, so he settles for a mid-range shot instead, which are not ideal unless you shoot them at an extremely high clip. This is the core of why Brown can't function as an offensive engine. His scoring skills simply doesn't force defenses to collapse onto him, ending up in one-on-one situations that look like they should favor him. Even off the court, the two have very different personalities. Jaylen Brown is highly outspoken, focusing on social activism and frequently using his platform to talk about education and community issues. Because he is so vocal, his opinions sometimes polarize people. Jason Tatum, on the other hand, is a reserved, low-maintenance guy. When given the choice, a franchise will almost always lean toward the star, who creates less noise off the court. And it doesn't hurt that Tatum's game is easier to build an offense around, compared to Brown's isolation-heavy playstyle. But Boston chose to build around a player coming off an Achilles tear, an injury that has derailed plenty of careers in the past, over a fully healthy and reliable Finals MVP in Jaylen Brown. But as the Celtics shopped him around the league, they started to notice that other front offices were viewing Brown as a diminishing asset. Boston understood that his trade value would only keep dropping the longer they held on to him. And with Brown coming off the best season of his career, this felt like the moment to cash in. Boston tried really hard to land Giannis Antetokounmpo. Reportedly, he was open to sign with the Celtics, but he wanted a 3-year extension worth 35% of the salary cap. Publicly, Boston framed the whole pursuit around financial flexibility. They didn't want 70% of their cap tied up in just 2 players, since the front office valued having a deep roster around its star. So Brad Stevens refused to offer Giannis anything past 2 years at 30%. But the Bucks weren't willing to hand over a generational talent for Brown alone. They wanted Boston's young pieces, like Baylor Shireman and Hugo Gonzalez too, since the Bucks were gearing up for a full rebuild. But Boston refused to gut its depth for Giannis, and before Stevens could try and renegotiate, the Miami Heat swooped in and signed Giannis. From there, the market for Brown began to dry up rapidly. The damage, though, was already done. Boston had spent the early summer publicly shopping their FMVP, and the relationship between Brown and the front office had reached a toxic threshold. The Celtics could no longer afford to be picky. They felt that they had to take whatever deal was left on the table before it was too late. So they turned to their rival, the same team that had just humiliated them in the playoffs. And Philadelphia jumped at the chance to capitalize on Boston's desperation.
Blockbuster that still has us shook. The Celtics have agreed to send their 2024 Finals MVP to the 76ers, their longtime rival.
The late, great Bill Russell is turning cartwheels in his grave right now.
This has got to be the lamest shit of an excuse for somebody to get traded of all time.
This is a sad day for the Boston Celtics. And as a former Celtic, I do not approve of this trade.
This is maybe one of the few times that I feel like I don't like it. I don't like how it went down, like in Boston.
And you trade him to a team that not only knocked you out of the playoffs, but your rival, a team that you're going to have to see. That says a lot about what they think about what they don't think of him.
Given the hostility and history between these two franchises, Boston just made Philadelphia significantly stronger by handing them a healthy Jaylen Brown. But in return, all Boston got back was 2 first-round picks, 2 second-round picks, and a 36-year-old Paul George, who hasn't exactly been reliable when it came to staying on the court, while he was also suspended for 25 games last season for violating the league's drug policy. Meanwhile, LeBron James had announced that he would not continue his career with the Lakers, and that he was searching for one final team to play with. With Jaylen Brown now in Philadelphia, the Sixers saw their opening and tried as hard as they could to recruit LeBron.
Where do you think LeBron going?
He's going to Philly, bro.
Philly?
You got to recruit LeBron. But you got to tell LeBron, you got to pull up, man. Pull up to Philly.
LeBron, pull up to Philly. Think about it. LeBron, Jaylen Brown, PJ 13.
He's gone.
He's gone?
He's gone, bro.
He's gone?
Yeah.
A few weeks later, LeBron confirmed he'd be spending the last stint of his career with the Philadelphia 76ers. Without even realizing, Boston had built a super team for the franchise that they had been hating for 73 years. If the Celtics had traded Brown to any of the other 28 teams, there's a strong chance that LeBron never signs with Philadelphia at all.
You get Jaylen Brown. What kind of role did that move have in landing LeBron James?
Yeah. Without getting Jaylen, I don't think we get LeBron.
Maybe this trade would have made some sense if Boston was tearing the roster down for a full rebuild. But no, they're planning to compete next season. And yet, they handed over a healthy superstar for pennies on the dollar, and in the process, pun intended, turned their fiercest rival into a super team. With no one left to share the spotlight, Boston has now put the entire franchise on Jason Tatum's shoulders. But the biggest concern is that he's coming back from the most devastating injury in basketball. An Achilles rupture is widely considered the most dangerous injury in basketball, and now the load on Tatum is only going to increase. Medical data shows that most NBA players returning from an Achilles tear permanently lose around 15% of their athletic output. It also says that the injured players had significantly shorter careers, and they demonstrated a significant decline in games per season and minutes per game. Even Tatum's idol, Kobe Bryant, was never quite the same player after tearing his Achilles tendon. Given how Jaylen Brown was treated on his way out, he'll most certainly come back to Boston carrying resentment and vengeance.
Jaylen, how would you characterize your relationship with Jason over the last year, Jason Tatum, and is that a partnership you both wanted to continue before the trade?
We won a championship together. So anybody that you win a championship, you would think like that's what, a brotherhood or a lifelong legacy would entail. On my end, it's nothing but respect. Besides when he plays the Sixers, I hope he does well. But other than that, everything for me is just based in respect.
Have you guys been able to talk?
Not really.
Brown admitting that he hasn't spoken to Tatum since the trade hints at how nasty this rivalry is about to get. This is only going to add more fuel to the existing rivalry between Boston and Philadelphia.
But they gonna turn me into the villain, and I'm gonna just embrace it. So this season, let's get it. You know what I mean? The villain has emerged. That's what y'all want me to be? Let's get it.
Last season may have been the easiest path to a title in the Eastern Conference, but this season looks like the complete opposite. Brad Stevens has turned Philadelphia into a potential super team. The Knicks are looking to run it back. Kawhi Leonard could be heading back to Toronto. Miami has just added Giannis, and Tyrese Halliburton is returning to Indiana. Boston's road to a championship just got significantly harder. So is there a slight chance for Boston to surprise everyone? Could Tatum and this roster make an unprecedented leap and prove all the doubters wrong? But either way, they'll have to run through the defending champions to do it. And even after winning the championship, people are still doubting the Knicks. The current 2027 championship odds have the Philadelphia 76ers with better odds than the defending champions. This is the exact same way people were doubting New York in the finals, because analytics showed that the Spurs controlled over 72% of the entire series. So I tried to find out how that happened, and that video is on your screen right now.